Alright guys, so as we all know, this is the Jaguars channel, so you guys probably know what I'm going to want to talk about right now, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I am a passionate, die-hard fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and there were such high hopes for this season. And to describe this season in one word, it has to be disappointing. This team has sucked as of late, especially these last 4 games. We're on a 4-game losing streak right now. We've lost like 5 out of our last 6, I believe. Yeah, 5 out of our last 6. And it's just not been good, man. Like, this is a team, like I said, man, we had Super Bowl hopes. We had a roster in place. We were just set to do so much damage, man, coming off an AFC Championship game last season. And now here we are. We sit at 3-5. You know, last week's game against the Eagles was just so big to be able to really just get back into the season, man. I mean, if we would have won that Eagles game in London, we would have been 4-4, you know, 1 game back at the AFC South, and we would have just been in a lot better shape right now as opposed to being 3-5. Luckily, this bye week did come at a decent time, so we have a little bit of time to regroup and focus on the second half of the season. But I want to kind of start off and talk about kind of what I feel like went wrong with the Jaguars, and kind of maybe even talk about what we need to do to be able to salvage this season and potentially go to the playoffs. Now, when I discuss the Jaguars, man, a lot of different things have gone wrong. And we'll just start with the most obvious, the elephant in the room, and that is Blake Bortles. You know, Jaguars signed this dude to like a 3-year, $54 million deal. Last offseason, kind of an extension as opposed to playing him on the 5th year option. And really, looking back on it, it was a pretty poor decision. I mean, he has not been really living up to that pay grade, even though it's not necessarily a high pay grade if you compare it to the other quarterbacks around the league. But, you know, they didn't pay Bortles this money to be able to come back in and have the same season that he had last year. They were really expecting him to build off of last year, and he ended the season off pretty well, you know. He had a 3-game stretch in December where he was just off the charts when it comes to, you know, passer rating, touchdowns, passes, and just all the different quarterback stuff you want to look at. And, you know, he had a 2-game, you know, to end off this season, he had 2 kind of bad games against the 49ers and Titans. And then in the playoffs, obviously, he went 2-1. The Bills game was a little bit sketchy, you know, passing, but he was able to do some things with his feet. He helped us out a lot in the Steelers game as we put up a bunch of points that game to be able to, you know, ride step for step with Big Ben. And then against the Patriots, obviously, you know, Blake had a pretty good game moving the ball, but he couldn't do it at the end. But, you know, when you look at, you wanted him to be able to go to the next level, and he hasn't. You know, you look at some things that a 5th-year quarterback should not be doing. First of all, his footwork has been awful. And a lot of that footwork issues comes at the beginning of the games when, you know, if he gets hit early and there's pressure early, he feels very uneasy in the pocket. And that's another thing, his pocket presence. It just hasn't been good. He's been leaving the pocket early. You know, like I said, he has been setting his feet and really throwing. And it really starts with the footwork, man. I know a lot of people look at the throwing mechanics, but it starts with footwork, man. When he's throwing flat-footed, kind of darting balls out there, you know, he's not necessarily, it doesn't look like he's trying to throw through people. It looks like he's trying to aim at people. And he's not throwing with much confidence at all. It's a really unfortunate thing to see. So that's been bad with Blake. He isn't seeing the field very well. You know, I don't think Blake Bortles is very, like, smart when it comes to really, like, seeing a defense, reading what the defense is taking, what the defense is giving you, being able to make adjustments at the line, call audibles and stuff like that. He's just not able to diagnose a defense like these other smart quarterbacks like Tom Brady, you know, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, just all these, you know, I mentioned a bunch of Hall of Fame, Pro Bowl caliber players, but that's what you ultimately want to strive for when you get a quarterback. And, you know, he hasn't really got any of that. But, you know, to say that if you replace Blake Bortles with another quarterback and everything would be fixed, I don't think that's the case, because there's a lot that's gone wrong outside of Blake Bortles. You know, you look at Blake Bortles, he hasn't been good, but the offense wasn't built around Blake Bortles, you know. The offense was built around Leonard Fournette, and obviously he hasn't been in there. You know, the Jaguars, instead of signing a Al Robinson to play wide receiver for you, we go out there and spend our big money on a left guard and Andrew Norwell to be able to, you know, help Fournette out, be able to push some people for Fournette to be able to open up holes for him. And, Fournette, through 8 games, he hasn't played a full half of football yet. He played a little bit in the beginning game against the Giants before leaving in the second quarter. He went in for the Jets and had a cup of coffee and exited pretty quickly. And he hasn't been effective at all. He hasn't done anything at all. We haven't had any kind of power runner until we brought in Carlos Hyde, who's been active 1 game this year. And it's unfortunate. It's a really unfortunate situation how not only has Leonard Fournette dropped, but all kinds of offensive players have dropped. You look for Cam Robinson going into his second year at left tackle to really improved. He got injured, the second game of the season, out for the season. Marquise Lee got out really early in the training in preseason. We haven't been able to have him, and he was a real presence in that really young wide receiver, group. You look at our tight end situation. None of our tight ends are healthy right now to start the season. We had David Greenidge and Blake Bell play last game. 2 guys fresh off of practice squads. Not what you want out of your offense. We have no really that well skilled players around. I mean, really the only bright spot I feel like player wise on our offense, we might have had 2 really players that I see really good things out of these guys, and that is TJ Yellin. I think TJ Yellin has been really good. He used to be a 3-down back. That's what he kind of specializes in third down because he's so good at pass protection. He's so good at catching the ball. But he's been elevated to be our primary runner, and I think he's been doing pretty well. But our offense isn't really built around that, which is unfortunate. So D.D. Westbrook, I think, has been really good. He's been the most promising wide receiver on the team. And, I really think D.D. Westbrook would be a lot better if we had a wide receiver number 1. If he was a Calvin Ridley to a Julio Jones, if he was a Will Fuller to a DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, you look at the Jaguars back in 2015. We had a 1,000-yard receiver in Allen Hurns, and I don't think Allen Hurns gets 1,000 yards receiving if he doesn't have A-Rob on the other side getting 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns. I think D.D. Westbrook, if we were to be able to play him in the slot, he would really benefit from being able to have a number 1 wide receiver to get him more opportunity to get the ball in space and just be able to demand their second best cornerback. I think he's just a lot better in the slot. He's by far the most sure-handed guy on the team. I mean, Moncrief doesn't look like he gives a shit. You have Keelan Cole, who had a one-handed catch against New England, and we haven't seen anything from him since. I mean, he leads the NFL in drops. He has a couple of really bad fumbles. He hasn't been taking care of the ball really well at all. So really those 2 guys are kind of the bright spots on our offense that's really just any kind of firepower production, anything at all. But hopefully we should get Leonard Fournette back by the time the Colts game comes, week 9 after the bye week. All reports from Adam Schefter indicating that he's probable to play. So that'll be good. And I think another thing that's kind of going wrong with our team is kind of our defense. Now, I don't think our defense is bad. I think our defense is probably a top 10 defense, but really these guys aren't playing to their potential that they are able to play at. I feel like pretty much every player besides maybe Marcel Darius has been not as good as last year. I feel like everybody is just playing a little bit below what they were playing at last year, a little bit to potentially maybe more than that, but just the combined kind of lack of productivity from all these guys combined is leading to our defense not being as dominant as last year. I mean, you look at some of the things, we're no longer really getting pressure on the quarterback with 4 guys rushing. We had to bring pressure with a blitz, and that's not something our defensive scheme really fits around. We like to be able to drop guys back in coverage and only let 4 guys rush the passer and get there. We haven't been generating pass rush nearly as well as we did last year, and we got pronounced Jacksonville. We're also not getting off the field on third down. Our third down efficiency has just been bad, and it's rough when you got these guys that get a third down conversion. Next thing you know, first down, second down, and third down again, and they convert, and they just do that all the way down the field. It's not good, man, and just we've still been healthy at the defensive side. I mean, really only DJ Hayden has been getting hurt. Now, granted, against the Eagles, we had AJ Boye, Tyler Patman, and DJ Hayden, 3 guys who happen to be cornerbacks out, and that's unfortunate. And it just stinks, man. And now we did ship Dante Fowler out, so we're a little bit weaker on that on our really third down packages. So we got to be able to fix that. And I think another thing that has to be mentioned is potentially like the coaching staff. Like the offensive coordinator has called some bad games, and the defensive coordinator has called some pretty bad games. And really, you know, with Todd Wash, like I remember at the end of the 2016 season, there were players speaking out about how they didn't like the scheme, they didn't like some of the stuff that they were doing. You know, 2017, everything went great, so nobody was really talking out, like really talking against like kind of what they were doing. But in 2018, like, you know, the defense just hasn't been as good, and you wonder, is it because of kind of the scheme that Todd Wash is kind of calling out there? You know, maybe some questionable callings with maybe not blitzing enough when that's what you're doing good at, maybe not enough like man coverage maybe. But, you know, whatever it is, I'm not smart enough of a football mind to really be able to diagnose everything that they're calling like scheme-wise. I mean, I don't really have enough time with my full-time job to really break down film as much as I'd like to, but you know, it's something that they got to think about because, you know, I think at the end of the season, if we continue on this route, I mean, we're a 6-10 team at this point. You know, we're 3-5. If we double that, that's 6-10. That's what we are if we're going at the pace that we are at right now. And you know, there's going to be things that have to be done. I don't think they should get rid of Doug Marrone. You know, I think he's still a good coach. You know, Hackett maybe is a little questionable. I mean, it's tougher with offensive just because you learn an offensive scheme so much, and all the players kind of buy into that. This would be their third year going into that offensive scheme. Maybe if you replace that with another quarterback that you're actually able to feel comfortable opening up the playbook with and calling more plays as opposed to kind of the limited playbook that they really have with Blake Bortles. But, you know, something has to give, and I think Todd Wash might be the guy whose head they got to chop off to be able to bring in a new defensive coordinator and bring some fresh blood in here, because we have a very, very talented defensive group, and sometimes it just takes a new mind. It takes a new defensive mind to come in there and really get the best out of a defense, and that's more, you know, you have you got guys like Telvin Smith, Jalen Ramsey, guys like Yannick Ngakoue. Really, all they really know is Todd Wash. Besides when they had Babbitt for a little bit under Telvin Smith, but let's be real, all these defensive guys, they've only been under like what, Todd Wash and like and Bob Babbage for a little bit. Like, get a new defensive mind in there, a guy that can really teach the defense new stuff, and maybe they can pull stuff. You know, they remember stuff they had from Todd Wash, and also, you know, get stuff that they have out of a new defensive coordinator. You know what I mean? You never know. I mean, Doug Marrone, he's not necessarily a defensive mind. He's more of an offensive guy, offensive line guy. So, you know, I think if there's any coordinator that might be under fire, it would have to be Doug Marrone. Or not Doug Marrone, but Todd Wash. Now, you know, I'm kind of going into the bad of the team right now, and that's some of the things that's kind of going wrong. You know, quarterback play, tons of injuries on the offense, especially with not having, like, Leonard Fournette being able to do that power run game. I mean, most of our, you know, run plays are out of the shotgun now, and just the offensive change. And, you know, with Blake Bortles, like, he only is going to play as good as the talent around him, and the talent around him has not been good. And I was one to believe that if, you know, Blake Bortles had the talent around him, if the offense was playing well, if he could play at a top 15 quarterback level, we could be pretty decent. But, you know, I'm not going to go too much into really quarterback stuff or replacements just because we're past the trade deadline, and help isn't going to come until after the season unless we bring in Cody Kessler. But some things that the Jaguars, now if the Jaguars were to make a playoff run, and, you know, we could still potentially do that. I mean, a lot of the really tough games are out of the way with, you know, playing guys like the Chiefs, playing guys, you know, defending Super Bowl champions with the Eagles, even though they're not necessarily playing that good, but I think they will be back. We already played, you know, like I said, the Patriots, so we've got some tough opponents out of the way. But what we had to do, man, we have to be able to go at least 6-2 down the stretch to have a chance. You know, if we go 6-2, then we're at 9-7, and that could very well to get us like a divisional spot. Just because, you know, you never know with the AFC South. I mean, the team that started off hot was the you know, Jaguars. Obviously got off to a 3-1 start. Then the Titans got hot. Now the Texans are hot. They're running a 5-game winning streak right now. They look to be the best in the AFC South. And you never know with the Colts. I mean, they're tied with the Jaguars right now with their record, and they're putting up a lot of points on offense. They got a really good offensive line, and you never know with them, man. With Andrew Luck at quarterback, good quarterbacks can really can lead a team with, you know, inferior talent to good places. So never count Andrew Luck out. But, You know, we got to go at least 6-2 down the stretch, and we have to win the rest of our division games. We are 0-2 in the division right now. That's terrible. We have to go 4-0 in the division and 6-2 down the stretch to be able to have a chance, because the most direct way to get into the playoffs is to be able to, of course, win your divisional games, and we've done terrible at that. You know, we had an embarrassing 9-6 loss to the Titans, and we got our ass whooped by the Texans and Deshaun Watson with a freaking punctured lung. So it's been a rough season for the Jaguars, obviously. I really hope to rebound back. You know, I'll still be back here, like, making videos, preview videos, recaps every week. I wish I could upload more videos for you guys, but this was my work schedule. I work full time, so it's a little bit tough for me to do so, unfortunately. But I will always be here for you guys, uploading videos, feeling the pain that you guys are in. You know, I'm just in the same situation that you guys is in. This season has sucked so far. You know, we're on a 4-game losing streak. It's not fun. It's just not fun at all. No other way to put it. But hopefully we can rebound, man. We got to take care of business against the Colts. Just hopefully Leonard Fournette coming back will be somewhat of a spark that we might need. I mean, you never know. I'm just as lost as you guys with this whole thing. But yeah, that's about, you know, all I got for this video. Thanks everybody for watching. Like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys next time.